This is the vlog for January 29th, 2019. I'm still going through my book, doing a pass, adding some of the flavor at the start of the chapters, and trimming a lot of unnecessary fat, I guess you could call it. I have earmarked one passage in one of the chapters in the first act that can probably just be cut completely. It's a little bit of flavor that's ultimately not very useful. And even so, I'm managing to sort of trim a word here, a sentence there, clarify something, make it shorter and simpler and more to the point. And that's where I'm actually sort of freeing up most of the word real estate for these new chapter intros. So that's good. I am, however, starting to feel the pressure. My dad has talked to me a little bit about my search for a job or lack thereof at the moment. I really want to finish this book and get it to a point where I can start handing it to publishers and then, working with an editor to do anything more. But it's not going to pay the bills until I get an advance, and I need to just get a job where I can make money. And I'm qualified, for plenty of work. I just need to, go out there and do it. And looking for a job, despite something that I've had to do every week for every break I've taken for the last 6 years or so, is not something that comes easy. It's nerve-wracking. It makes me really anxious. I think it makes everybody anxious. I don't know many people that go, time to look for a job, and really go at it with gusto, because, the kind of people that do that only generally have to do it once or twice in their lives because they're that good at, being employed. It's also hard to focus on anything work-related when the weather is this nice. I went for a walk down at Marymore today, and the temperature gauge nearby said 57 degrees as I was heading back to my car. I wore my sweatshirt when I left, but I had it wrapped around my waist for most of my walk. It just was not necessary. It was plenty warm. Despite that, I did confirm today that the little creek that runs next to the trail through the Audubon Bird Trail is in fact frozen. I took a stick that was on the side of the trail and just went down and bam, bam, bam. And it was hard as a rock. This all comes on a day when our president believes that global climate change is not a real phenomenon because it's currently very cold in the Midwest. What he's trying to say is that because with the combined wind chill, today is probably the coldest day on record in some of the locations in the Midwest. That is evidence against global warming. Global climate change is the reason it's so cold, because it's probably not temperature-wise as cold as it's ever been, but the combination of cold and wind, which is one of the direct results of global climate change, means that the wind chill, the feels like number, is very, very low. And I live in fear now that before the end of my life, we're going to see, evidence that our entire planet is not going to be able to sustain human life. And it's going to happen before I die. It might actually kill me for all I know. Every summer now, for the last 2 or 3 years, actually definitely for the last 3 years, we've had forest fires, terrible forest fires that have raged all across the western United States and Canada. Malibu was devastated by a fire this year. Canada, we were stuck in a triangle. We had California to the south on fire, BC to the north on fire, and eastern Washington had forest fires as well. Seattle and the outlying areas were the only ones that weren't actively burning, and it was still, as you may have noticed me talk all over the summer, smoggy and smoky and just nasty. And I'd be thinking about moving up to BC where it's going to be more temperate for more of the year, except that they're one of the places that's on fire. And I don't know if their situation right now is that much better. I don't know. I just feel like I'm surrounded with bad news and I've got this lost job hanging around my neck. It's easy to get depressed. But I guess that's why I always finish these with, I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.